Welcome to Best Kept Secrets Travel, episode 15. My name's Morgan.
And I'm Will, and on today's episode, we're doing a deep dive into Vietnam.
Best friends, and that's for life. Who stay traveling? I'm talking worldwide. 65 countries between the two. Every moment is so unbelievable. Sharing the best kept secrets about the trips and mistakes they made that they can't forget. So tell me if you're ready for a time to remember as they gear up for the next adventure. Yeah. Woo! Best kept secrets travel.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about majestic islands, the possible birthplace of speed dating, and where you can find snake wine. But to start with, we're going to give a little brief history of Vietnam. Vietnam is located in Southeast Asia, and it borders China to the north, Laos and Cambodia to the west.
Vietnam has a history of strong tribes coming together to form dynasties. The first dynasty that took over Vietnam, which people believe started the state of Vietnam, was the Hung Bang dynasty, which was ruled by the legendary Hung Kings. If you know what I mean.
Vietnam would remain part of the Chinese Empire for over 1,000 years, and in 1938 AD, Ngo Dinh would defeat China, and then they would gain their independence.
Vietnam was then ruled by a succession of dynasties, and in 1858, the French came to Vietnam.
In 1893, the French incorporated Vietnam as French Indochina.
France continued to rule until 1954, when the legendary Ho Chi Minh led communist forces to take over and destroy the French. Just like England rugby.
Communist.
Destroy the French, Morgan.
Got it.
Yes, England rugby, the famous communists.
The country became divided into the communist North Vietnam and the anti-communist South Vietnam. The Vietnam War raged for years, with the communists being supported by other communist countries and the South being supported by the US.
The North eventually won. Thus, in 1975, it came under communist rule. The capital of Vietnam is Hanoi. Morgan, what's the population of Hanoi?
94.6 million.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot. For such
That's insane.
It's a reasonably big country, but it's very long and thin. So, it's dense.
That's a lot of people. A lot of motorbikes as well, as seen in Top Gear.
Will, how long can you visit Vietnam as a UK citizen without a visa?
So UK citizens can visit Vietnam with no visa at all for a total of 15 days.
And after 15 days, you need a visa. Obviously.
Did you have a visa when you travelled there?
Yes, I had a multi-visit visa, and I stayed there for 3.5 weeks.
No, so you did need one.
Yeah. Amazing.
Vietnam is broken up into 3 different regions. You've got the north, the central, and the south of Vietnam. And in the south, you have a lot more rain and a more tropical climate, whereas up north near Hanoi, it's a lot colder winters than most travellers ever expect.
Vietnam can still be enjoyed in monsoon season, which is April to October, and it's actually, when I was there, in the middle of monsoon season, and I actually think it's a lot more fun because I like the rain. But it means that you do sometimes meet less travellers because people want to go when it's nicer weather, and also sometimes there is more mosquitoes.
Did you find it was cheaper to travel there in monsoon season, or is it quite similar throughout the year?
I believe it's quite similar throughout the year, and Vietnam's extremely cheap as it is.
Morgan, how much does one Great British pound get you in Vietnam?
So the currency is the Vietnamese dong, and £1 is 31,875 as we speak now. I vaguely remember when I went, it was around 33,000 dong.
Okay.
But, you know...
Oh, we're getting weaker as a nation.
Things have changed since then. And you're able to get cash out in all the big cities very easily. But in some of the places, so if you go towards Halong Bay, which we'll talk about later, and some of the islands there, it's really hard to get cash out. There is, on Cat Bar Island, there was, back in 2016, only one cash machine there.
And how did you find it in terms of card, or was it cash only, really?
It was majority cash only. what you're paying for things is so little, it didn't really make sense for anyone to have cards, so you always need to have cash.
One of Morgan's favourite segments of our deep dives is some of you will know, which is thrilling, enjoyable, and we like to slaughter languages because we are
amazing at languages.
Linguists. Yeah, definitely. We both struggle with English, but let's go. Okay. So we've got the language test.
Will, how would you say hello in Vietnamese?
Xin chào?
I reckon that's quite good. Sounds correct to me.
Do we have any Vietnamese listeners here?
It's possible. We have had a Vietnamese listener, and we do have people listening to us in Asia.
So if you're watching us from Vietnam or anywhere in Asia and you can speak Vietnamese, then comment below. Send us a message telling us how immaculately
we're fantastic.
We're speaking your language.
So the next phrase I'm going to try is a little bit spicy, please. That's got
to be one of your favourite things to say. Morgan does like hot food.
And it is quite important in Vietnam, as lots of their foods are quite plain and...
just outright plain, not that much flavour? Or?
Well, there's flavour. There is flavour, but it's not spicy. It's not bland,
simple.
but it's simple. It's simple farmers' food. So a little bit spicy would be Mut Shoot Kai.
Did he say that right? Of course he did.
Of course I did. So, Will, how do you say do you speak English?
Bang Hanoi dot Chenan Kong?
Yes, I do.
Beautiful. So I must have said it right.
Fantastic. And, of course, our favourite phrase ever.
Can I have a beer?
Please. Cho toi jin mot vai bia dork gong. Kong is definitely please, because we've had that come up twice now. Kong is please.
So they finish with please, just like us.
Which is perfect. So, Will, how much is a beer?
Bao Niu Lamot Bio? Beer?
Beer, I'd go for. But that sounds perfect.
Now, Morgan's absolute favourite, he likes when he's travelling and flirting. Would you like to dance?
Flirting? I'd like to dance all the time and everywhere. Em an nai voi an.
Sounded great.
You don't want to dance?
Not after that attempt.
That's what most people say about my dancing as well. Next, we're going to move on to one of Will's favourites, and this is actually one of my favourite. I love the Vietnamese cuisine. We're moving on to the local foods and drinks. And kicking it off, we're going to do Fongnar.
Oh,
beautiful. Do you know what Fongnar is, Will?
Pho is essentially a Vietnamese noodle dish.
It's a broth, Vietnamese dish, I thought you were going to say.
No, it is essentially a Vietnamese dish. Yeah, end of.
Yeah.
Let's get to Coochie Tunnels. No, it's a noodle dish with a broth.
Yeah, so pho is the noodles itself, and they're rice noodles, and it's in sort of a broth. And gar means chicken.
Ooh.
So it's chicken noodles.
It's making me hungry.
And it was probably my second day where I realised that this was going to be one of the big dishes that I ate, and I ate it and I absolutely loved it. Where I also thought, because it's my first time backpacking, if I'm here, I need to learn how to use chopsticks properly. And this is where I first started learning how to use chopsticks, and I did learn. And I needed them because I needed them every day.
For chopsticks?
Yeah. Because I had chicken pho probably almost every day. Because I loved it.
That's the question I have for anyone who watches or listens to this. Does anyone take their own chopsticks whilst they're travelling?
Ooh.
Just think about that. It's not a bad idea.
Well, now people take metal straws to places. Taking your own cutlery. Because quite often you'll just be giving away... but quite often you'll be giving away like throwaway chopsticks.
Yeah, so does anyone actually go around travelling with, metal or proper hardwood chopsticks? Drop a comment below. Ping us a message if you do.
Question. pho is essentially Vietnam's signature dish, comprising of rice noodles in a flavorful soup with meat and various greens, plus a side of nuoc cham. We've done a lot of this on this season. It's fermented fish.
I love it.
Or chili sauce. A basic bowl contains maybe beef slices, beef meatballs, or beef flank, topped with bean sprouts and lime wedges. Very, very tasty. And I would recommend with Fongnar is having it on one of their roadside restaurants, which are these sorts of like
Proper street food.
Yeah, plastic children's tables almost. And you get these really, really tiny plastic chairs where your bum's probably be at about half a foot off the ground.
It does not surprise me. That sounds like your kind of thing.
It was fantastic.
I want to be a kid.
It was amazing. The food was brilliant. And one of the things that I liked as well is because they were like chicken strips.
Yeah.
You know that it's not going to be raw on the inside. You know that
it's because they've been cooking it for like 5 days straight.
And you know you're not worried about having prawn pad thai.
Don't talk about that one. Actually, we do in our Indonesia episode 9.
Now you know the episode numbers.
I do.
Fantastic.
Episode 9. I'll talk about having a bad stomach after eating prawns as street food. Not a great idea. Bun Bo Hue. Hue was the former imperial capital of Vietnam, and it was really well known for its unbelievably well-balanced, flavourful local dishes. Spicy, salty, sour and sweet dishes.
Ooh, lovely.
And Bun Bo Hue is one of the best examples they have. The broth is made by simmering beef bones with lemongrass and fermented fish sauce. Once again, fermented fish sauce. Why is this a common occurrence in our podcast, is fermented fish?
We don't want any fermented
Go back to one of our
sponsors.
earlier episodes to watch me throwing up on fermented fish. Wasn't lovely. Anyway, this dish is then served with beef, pork, thick noodles with 2 C's, and too many herbs and vegetables to list. Chili is added as well for a spicy kick because people from Hue love their foods nice and spicy.
It's about the only place in Vietnam.
Did you try Bo Bun Hue?
I did when I was in guess
Hue?
where? In Hue, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice, and it was nice to have some spice. Although this was my first backpacking trip, so I was still
skeptical,
very worried, and being very careful with what I put in my body.
Nice.
The next food on our list is another one of my favourites, and this is something that what I would have as a snack. I'm sure most people have it as a meal. It's called banh mi.
What?
I loved a banh mi. It was essentially the easiest English or American description is it's almost like a Subway sandwich, but better and a lot healthier. So banh mi is a unique, I guess they call it...
I just had the worst things go through my head.
About banging me.
Imagine asking someone out for dinner. It's like, you should have flirted with them, asking them for a day. It's like, oh, what food are you really craving?
You want to come out and bang me?
Oh, no, great place where we could get some bang me. This gets... Oh, how the podcast starts so well and stoops down low. Carry on, Morgan.
Banh mi is a unique French-Vietnamese sandwich that is great when you need a quick meal. It's roughly between 10,000 and 15,000 dong. So you could get some banh mi with some dongs. How old are you?
I wasn't ready for this episode. Carry on.
You didn't know how often we'd be talking about handing out dong.
Right, carry on, Morgan.
It's essentially a toasted baguette sandwich with pickled vegetables, pate, butter, soy sauce, cilantro, chilies, and hot peppers. Most banh mi sellers also offer a wide range of meat fillings, including heo quao, which is roasted pork belly, which is one of my favourites.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really fantastic. Fried egg, grilled pork loin, fried fish, boiled sausages, Chinese barbecue pork, and poached chicken. Are you just thinking about dong?
I'm just thinking about the next one I've got to talk about, which is breast milk fruit. You can pick up breast milk fruit from street vendors. This sounds even worse.
How many dongs do you get with some breast milk?
Fruit that translates to milk from the breast, vu soir, in Vietnamese. The actual name for it in English is star apple, because when you cut it in half horizontally, the segments are a star-like shape. You then continue to peel and eat it. A few white milky drops come out, hence the supposed likeness to breast milk.
The pre-drops.
Oh dear. Oh, Morgan, I love this script you've put together for us. The food sounds great.
Why do you often have breast milk fruit?
What do you have? Bang me, followed by breast milk for dessert.
Do you want to go out with me for some dinner? We can...
No, let's not stoop lower.
Let's go out for dinner. I can have some breast milk with you.
Oh no. Right.
Our next one is a drink, which is rice wine, which is glutinous rice brewed in large jugs for a month to create this local tipple. Drinking the hard stuff in Vietnam is for the most part considered the man's domain. Rice wine, which clocks in at around 29.5% alcohol, is the traditional masculine tipple. And for drinking, it's a social activity and can be very social when you've had quite a bit of rice wine.
Mm-hmm.
Groups of friends will often gather to drink rice wine out of a communal shot glass or two, and just continue to do so.
Yeah, so a lot of these Asian countries are the largest spirit drinkers in the world. So I think South Korea...
Not the Russians.
I think South Korea is number one in the world for just straight up drinking spirits. And
That's
Vietnam's also quite high up there. Mm. Now, as Morgan mentioned earlier, there is the world famous snake wine.
Ooh.
I know.
Does that mean you drink out of a snake?
It's generally made by putting a live snake in a bottle. I know, leaving it to drown just before dying, the snake will revert to a defensive coil position, which is attractive to potential customers as it implies the snake was a feisty and powerful creature.
I wonder how expensive a will wine would be then. Just put you in a large bottle.
In a bottle.
Yeah.
Snake wine is thought to improve health, vitality, as well as enhancing sexual performance.
Ooh.
Although this is not verified.
Darn it.
Lovely. So we're going to move on to one of the most important things for all of our travellers watching and listening today, because we are money savvy, money conscious.
Alcohol
and if you
conscious.
watch all of our episodes on how to save money whilst travelling, you'll save even more money before even getting on your flight to Vietnam. So breakdown of costs, Morgan. We're going to go through the average beer, the hostel, and the cost of internal travel.
Ooh.
What is the average cost of a beer?
The average cost of a beer is around 20,000 dong.
So that's about 70p, 65, 70p. That is cheap for a beer.
And I went down to 10,000 dong in Dalat when I
For a
went
beer?
there. For a beer. For a pint bottle.
Pint bottle for 33p. No wonder it's popular with a lot of travellers.
Yeah. It was seriously cheap, and it was good beer as well.
And how much did you pay for the average price of a hostel?
Roughly, the average price of a hostel is about £2.50, which is
That's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, when you're going around Europe...
And were they nice hostels? Or bearable?
Reasonable hostels.
Yeah.
They're reasonable. You got decent Wi-Fi, aircon. You get everything.
Because that's roughly 75,000, 78,000 dong then.
You get everything you expect in a hostel.
Yeah. I think I know a couple as well who, when they travel around Cambodia and Vietnam, they found it was even cheap. It was cheaper for them to get a private room together than for them to have two beds in a dorm room.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
So they just travel around. Which, if you think £2.50 is a hostel, forget everything else.
Do you want to share a bed?
That's a cheap months of hostel staying.
Yes.
That's dirt cheap.
This is why when I've said before that on average you can get around Vietnam for around £15, that's including activities. Like if you were there long term and weren't doing activities every day, you could literally be there for £3 or £4, £2.50 on your dorm. You can get a beer and a bang me.
If this video gets 1 million views within the next year...
1 million's just your number, isn't it?
Well, I think 1 million views on it, on one of our videos would be awesome. 1 million views on this video in the next year.
I'd prefer more.
Morgan has to live in Vietnam for 12 months for less than £1,000.
After I've qualified.
After he's qualified. So in terms of actually internal travel around Vietnam, buses are the cheapest way, and sadly we can't give you a deadly accurate price because it really just varies on the length of your bus. We could give you a random number, but it's not going to be that beneficial because it just depends where you're trying to go from A to B.
60,000 dong.
That's what Morgan's going to assume. That's fine then. Just quote Morgan when you turn up and it's cheaper or more expensive.
It'll be more expensive than that for sure. It's cheap, but it's not. Well, it depends how far you're going.
60,000 dong is almost a night in a hostel, Morgan.
Yeah, but there are long distances in Vietnam because it's long and thin. For international travel, there are 3 airports in Vietnam.
Yeah.
One up north, which is Hanoi.
Yep.
One down south in the capital, which is in Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City.
Yep.
It's called both. And one in the middle in Da Nang.
And Morgan, what was that best kept secret you just snuck in there? You said one of the cities has 2 names.
One of the cities, Ho Chi Minh, also has another name, Saigon.
And if you're wondering why it's Ho Chi Minh, as mentioned earlier, Ho Chi Minh was the leader in 1954 who helped destroy the French.
I can back that.
And ruled the communist rule of Vietnam. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. So as Will mentioned a second ago, buses is a very good and cheap way to get around Vietnam. One of the things with the buses is, as I said, they're long distances, so they're often sleeper buses.
Ooh.
Which, it's nice.
Free night stay there.
What you've got to remember is that the average male height in Vietnam is 5'2".
It's tiny.
Yeah, it's not that tall. No,
that is tiny.
These sleeper buses are obviously built for the population.
Yeah, so you fit perfectly.
My leg does
across 5 people's seats.
Whoa, I'm tall. So that can be an issue with some people, dependent on your size and height and how easily you get to sleep. But in general, they're sort of like, some of them almost feel like rock hard sleeping bags with a bit of room. Like sometimes you do struggle to sort of get your knees in.
It's like
sometimes
a small duvet there, or
yeah.
And how clean is it?
No, it's reasonably clean. It's cleaner than the hostels. The thing you've got to worry about more is the fact that the driving in Vietnam is probably the craziest driving I've seen ever.
Really?
So you'd be on thin mountain roads, and they'd be driving really fast on the wrong side of the road for about 5 minutes, round corners, round everything. And there are multiple deaths and buses rolling over all the time that you just don't hear about unless the tourist dies. And they tell you about this, and they also tell you that a lot of the bus drivers could be drunk.
Oh, lovely.
So that's great.
That's a safety warning for people listening to this podcast right now.
Yes. But in general, the buses are the best way to travel around, and you just have to trust that they know how to drive within their country. Because the way the driving works is it's not the biggest car wins always, because they're majority motorcycles. It's the most use of horns I've ever heard, because horns basically tell you what's happening.
Oh, you need to go to New York.
If I have been to New York.
New York surely trumps it.
Nope, there's more horns.
Morocco?
Haven't been there.
Oh, okay.
So basically a horn, you press the horn if you want to turn right, you press the horn if you want to turn left.
Or you go around
a corner. You press the horn if you want to overtake. No, because that gives people warning that you're going around the corner.
Okay.
That'd be too obvious. You basically press the horn if you're doing... In the UK, you look at the mirror before doing anything. Every time you look in a mirror, you honk the horn. That is, they don't really use mirrors, they just honk the horn, and that's sort of how it works.
Crazy.
Yes. The other mode of transport, if you don't want to go to some slightly off the beaten track locations, is sleeper trains. They're reasonably comfortable. They're a bit more expensive, or quite a bit more expensive than buses, but still not very expensive.
How much quicker?
And a bit quicker, but you have less options for the locations you want to get to.
Makes sense. Once again, mentioning Ho Chi Minh, otherwise known as Uncle Ho in Vietnam, died in 1969 as the first president of Vietnam. You can go and see his body still in the mausoleum today, up in Hanoi, and it's known as a bit of a religious pilgrimage for all the Vietnamese. That is crazy. So we're over 50 years on now, 52 years, coming up to 53 years since he passed away. And you can still go and see his body.
And you can guarantee every time you go there, there is a long queue.
Really?
Because there is still a lot of people going there.
Oh,
I mean, there is 93 million people in the country, plus tourists, so...
It's like, it feels a bit like I don't know, almost like the Vatican for Vietnam.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
That's insane. Drop a comment below if you've gone to see it. Did you see it when you were out there or not?
Yeah.
You did? You see the body?
Yeah.
Was it weird? Did it feel like you were looking at a dead bloke?
Slightly. Yes. It was weird because it was real. Vietnam street foods are actually defined in the Oxford Dictionary, the best dictionary in the world. Vietnamese cuisine is characterized as endless variety and extraordinary flavors. Both banh mi and pho are actually in the Oxford Dictionary. So I'm surprised you didn't know how to bang me. About bang me.
Oh dear, Morgan. On top of this, around 16% of world's spices can be found in Vietnam, reflecting an insane level of biodiversity. That is, I mean, that's why Vietnamese street food's in Oxford Dictionary. It shows that they must have crazy flavour. But you were saying not that long ago, it's bland food.
It's not spicy. That's, to me.
So if it's not spicy, then it's bland.
Spicy is flavour.
So this is showing Morgan's obvious lack of taste buds.
It doesn't affect your taste bud spice. The capsaicin in it is just tricking your brain.
Right, moving on. According to Vietnamese folklore, Vietnamese people are descendants of dragons. The dragon is therefore a mythical figure the Vietnamese worship. It is also believed the dragon brings rain, which is needed for large areas of agricultural land in the country.
I guess if they breathe fire somewhere, the rain comes when they need it so that they don't burn
Yeah, what is their
everything down.
theory behind the dragon bringing rain? Is it a special rain dragon or...
Anyone? No?
Anyone. I don't know much about dragons. Don't know if anyone here does, so... Message us, comment below, send us link, something. Dragons, Vietnam, rain. Clueless, to be honest.
And we've mentioned this a lot in our episodes under our breath. You haven't read the next bit, which is what I like. The turtle is an important symbol in Vietnamese culture.
They're also great to travel on.
That is very true. It's said to symbolise intelligence, strength, and longevity. So we're not turtles. Yeah, we're definitely not turtles. Vietnamese people relate to the turtle with victories and gaining independence after the influx of invaders at various stages of their history. I quite like that.
Did you see any turtles when you were out there?
No, I didn't. Although the east side is obviously a lot of coast, we didn't actually go in the sea very often. We went a couple of times, got very sunburnt one time, and then got stung by jellyfish another. But didn't see
Lovely.
any turtles, no.
So, a really, really quick break moment in this podcast is thank you very much for getting this far and watching
Thank
and
you.
listening to us today. It makes a huge difference to our numbers. So far, we've already planted 25 trees based on our viewers and listeners so far. We will plant a tree for every 50 downloads we get on our podcast and every 100 subscribers on our YouTube. And we are growing pretty quickly. We are en route to get over 1,000 subscribers soon on our YouTube. And then we are going to cruise
Overtake
past...
Jack's Flight Club.
Exactly. Cruise past 10,000 subscribers, then 100, then 1 million, and then we're en route to go after Mr. Beast. Probably a long shot, but high goals. That's what we're aiming for right now.
So high it's above the view of the camera.
Exactly. And to
you
make
can't
that
even
happen,
see
though,
it if you're listening.
and to make this happen and to make it all possible and to plant more trees, if you don't mind going below this video, if you're watching us on YouTube, and clicking that notification bell or subscribe button, giving a like to the video, and even dropping a comment below, asking us a question or saying something you liked or a bit of feedback on the video, it makes a huge difference. If you're listening on a podcast day, please download every single episode, give us a follow, and send a link to the podcast or YouTube video to a family or friend. Do that right now, because together you guys can help plant even more trees around the world, and you can help us grow, give you more information, and help you save money and enjoy your travels even more. So, back to Vietnam.
So this is a game that we actually play sometimes, but it's called slightly different and a bit different rules, and we allow it to bounce.
Yeah.
It's sepak takraw. It's essentially kick volleyball.
Okay. Yeah, like we use football on a tennis court.
Yeah, it's a very traditional sport played in Vietnam, and participants must pass the ball over the net. Slightly smaller than a badminton net, using only their feet and heads. And it's also played in Thailand, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia.
Ooh, sounds like good fun.
And actually, in a few episodes' time, we're going to talk about what sports mean to us, and like how we always, when we're going to a new country, try and see the traditional sports or even try and play them
Yeah.
when we visit them.
So, it's no surprise that Morgan's put this in our script today, but his favourite thing in the world, speed dating. He looks super excited to talk about this now and to discuss this. But speed dating might seem like a relatively recent fad in the West, being introduced to the US in the 90s. But it's been a staple of the hill tribe life in Vietnam for decades. Hill tribes from all over the northern regions around Sapa will meet at love markets. Interesting. Where the local young single people will come together with the intent of finding a mate.
I heard that's quite similar to Infernos.
Giving villagers from very remote areas a chance to meet partners from other villages in a centralised place. So, if you met someone from another tribe, do you then just outright leave your tribe?
From what I know of when they do things like this in other countries, I believe it's the woman follows the man and goes to the man's tribe.
Okay. Makes sense.
But I'm not 100% sure on that.
So if you suddenly had like a insanely good looking bunch of blokes, then your tribe could just zoop. Or if you just had...
They don't need to be good looking blokes, they just need to be
or
blokes.
just massive, yeah, the next generation is tons of guys, then it'll jump up, whereas if you had loads of women, then your tribe would just chop in half.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah, there must be a few tribes now which are just massive over the years from that then.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure lots of them are quite big now because it's been going on for a while, so they've been growing and now it's a large population.
So Morgan, when you were in Vietnam, did you ride a motorbike?
Yes, I did. It was
A little bit like a Top Gear episode, Jeremy Clarkson struggling on the bike.
We did genuinely watch that whilst we're going up
Did you?
Vietnam, because we're like, part of us needs to go to some of the places that they go to, which we will talk about later in the episode, but also just seeing the experiences that they had with the Vietnamese people and their travels. But yes, I drove a motorbike for the first time ever.
Go well? Did you fall off?
No, I didn't.
Didn't fall off. That's a good start.
Lots of tourists do fall off, and that is probably
I know a
the
couple of people who did.
biggest way tourists in Vietnam go to hospital. And yeah, I was very fortunate not to fall off. The first time I went on a motorbike was on the back with someone, and we did this tour where the tour guide actually they had a load of drivers and they took us places on the
fairly
motorbike.
safe, structured. Well, safe as you can sort of be, ish.
Safe-ish. And then after that, we felt confident enough. Not all of us in our group hired a motorbike, but we hired them. We did a best kept secret is to make sure you take pictures of every inch of the bike, because lots of these things are very notorious for having scams, and you come back and it was a bump that was already there and they say you damaged it and then fine you an extortionate amount. So take lots of pictures of this, but we didn't have any issues with that.
Check the amount of petrol and the agreement on the petrol before you hire it.
Petrol was ridiculously cheap. I mean, they gave tourist prices, but it was still ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
Motorbike riding, I was fine with it. It was a bit nerve-wracking the first time it rained a lot.
Okay.
And also the brakes weren't necessarily that
Existent.
effective. Yeah. And everyone rides so crazy. So it's fine on open roads, but I know people in my group didn't want to go more into the cities and the towns,
which is kind of understandable.
If you had to get petrol,
because it's all fun and games watching the whole Top Gear thing, but at the same time they have an insanely big crew. They do have a car which at certain times could, if it wants to, basically block off a chunk.
Yeah, in theory. So, but I rode in the cities as well, and it's stressful, but as long as you're confident with what you're doing, not go too fast. I think confidence is the key because of the rules of the road here.
Yeah, you lack confidence, don't you, Morgan?
What is confidence? I have no idea what confidence is. But if you know the rules of the road and you just use your honk, as long as the horn works, because that's the only way you can do stuff, you just ride and then
cruise.
Yeah, slalom around people. And the best thing you can do is trust that the other people on the road are going to go around you. Like when crossing a road in Vietnam, it's one of the weirdest experiences when you first do it. There's no road crossings, no one follows traffic lights or any of that stuff. You walk, you have to walk the same pace, and you just continue to walk, and they will ride around you. It's like when you see videos over the top of sharks swimming through a shoal of fish, and the fish just sort of depart. It's literally that.
You just keep walking.
It's crazy. It's a really weird experience, and sometimes you get Vietnamese people who see that you're a silly foreigner who's worried about crossing the road, and they actually come and help you.
Really?
And they're really kind. And we actually tipped a few people who did that because it was nice.
That's quite funny. So, crossing your fingers in Vietnam is meant to be super rude. Did you hear about this when you were out there?
We were told as we were leaving.
Crossing them, as in crossing them for luck, or yeah.
That's
the equivalent of flipping the bird, apparently.
No, it is.
You got told that?
No, it is the equivalent of flipping the bird.
That's so bizarre.
It is strange.
So what if you flip the bird? Oh my god, it's good luck.
the same thing that happens if you flip the bird in the UK.
So it's just both rude.
Yeah.
That's slightly bizarre.
And it shows the importance of doing a bit of research before going to a country beforehand and finding out about their culture.
Yeah, making easy assumptions of Western civilization for someone else.
Exactly. Do you remember that scene in Coco where Miguel and Hector are celebrating at the bottom of that beautiful pit?
No.
Well, what if I told you that setting can be found in real life? So you know when Coco, they're thrown in by the bad guy, they go to the bottom of the pit, and then he finds out that the other guy is actually his dad.
Yeah, I know.
So Hang Song Dong is the largest cave in the world by volume, and it contains 2 dolines where the ceiling has collapsed. While there are many spectacles to behold throughout the cave, like the underground river, the giant stalagmites, and the calcite barrier known as the Great Wall of Vietnam, it's a very interesting place to go visit, and I was hoping that you'd remember straight away.
Not gonna lie, claiming that it's the largest cave in the world, I think...
By volume.
Yeah, but there's got to be bigger than that, surely. Surely we haven't even found the largest cave.
No, 100% not, because Godzilla still lives down there. Have you not seen Godzilla v Kong?
Right, Morgan, moving on from Godzilla, we're going to break down the best things to see in the whole of Vietnam, starting off with the Ban Gaiok waterfall. Is Vietnam's widest waterfall and one of the least visited natural wonders in the country. Did you go and see it?
No, I didn't know about it
until you came back.
Until I came back, which is really unfortunate.
Even since Morgan went to Vietnam, we're still learning. We're doing more in-depth research. We're finding out things we haven't even done before.
And the more we do these episodes, the better we're both getting at researching all these different places.
And if you haven't really travelled that much, if you're just getting into travelling, we're trying to pass on all the information and mistakes that we've learned over the years and tips and tricks. So you save money, you're saving time, you're enjoying your holiday more, and you're not making the mistakes that we make. That sounds like the perfect reason to click that subscribe button and to download all our episodes of podcasts on every podcast platform.
Makes total sense.
Makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, so
agreed.
It is Vietnam's widest waterfall and least visited natural wonder in the country. It is fed by the Khe Sun River, which marks the border between Vietnam and China. The falls have several terraces and stand over 30 metres tall. In the wet season, there's so much water cascading down the falls that the terraces completely disappear and take on the appearance of a singular waterfall.
Sounds really impressive to me.
There must be an insane amount of water coming down there.
Monsoon season was crazy. There were times where it would rain and suddenly the flooding is halfway up your knee.
Really?
Within like 15 minutes. It was shocking. I'd never seen anything like it. And then the most surprising thing was, once the rain finally stopped, was how good the drainage system was, in that it'll just disappear. The UK, there's like 2 inches of rain and then the drainage system blocked. Hoian. Now, Hoian was somewhere that they went to on Top Gear when they did their Vietnam trip, and the ancient town of Hoian is a very photogenic area, and it's one of the places where I went and I sort of went, I think my parents would quite like this because it was really pretty.
Yeah.
Really nice restaurants. It's slightly touristy, but they've got amazing restaurants, awesome shopping, lots of historic sites, and it's just a short ride away from the beaches and rice fields to explore. But the best thing you can do there, which is what they did in the Top Gear episode.
Yeah. What did they do?
Is you can get tailored clothes seriously cheaply.
Oh no, Morgan, not this.
You can go into any shop and they literally say, we will make you anything. Like, bring me a photo of what you want
and we will make it.
Shoes, suits, clothes, trunks, anything you wanted, bikinis, they can make it.
I have a slight feeling that whilst we're talking about this, we might need to bring them out.
I agree.
Shall we do it? That was awful. Let's do it again. Now I'm going to boil to death.
We're back. So, do you want to explain your jacket there? So I got both of these jackets.
These are both Morgan's.
For around 60 USD.
Each?
No.
In total?
And they're tailored.
So $30 each?
Yeah.
See, that one's all right. This one's...
No, they're both amazing.
Like 10 inches thick.
So talk us through it.
Here, you can see me modelling... if you're watching on YouTube, you can see me modelling one of Morgan's jackets. Obviously, he gave me the worst one of the bunch.
So it's a two-tone jacket.
It's a two-tone jacket. The sleeves and the sort of... breast pocket look like diarrhea. And the rest of the jacket is actually quite a nice navy colour.
It's a nice light brown.
I'm not even joking when I say
colour.
It's almost a centimetre thick.
It is very thick. And what's the lining?
Bright pink, obviously.
It's a very bright pink
he's
lining.
gone for a nice navy, followed by neon flamingo pink, and diarrhea and breast pocket sleeves.
I think he looks fantastic. And please comment, say what you think.
For
this one,
for $30, it's all right. I'd say the actual main fabric's quite nice.
So this one is sort of a checkerish blue. Would you describe it as that?
Yeah, it's sort of between a blue and charcoal.
Blue and charcoal with a brown elbow patch and a...
I like the lining.
More ordinary lining, which is sort of... It's circular patterns.
Yep, custom tailor.
Oh, it's different patterns, sort of circular
I don't like the
blue.
neck.
Oh yeah, so there's also the same elbow brown patterns are on the collar as well.
Yeah,
which you're not a fan of.
The collar and elbows don't do it for me. Otherwise, I think the actual check's all right. It's got like a sort of tweed feel to it.
Yeah, and I've had both these jackets for 5 years now, and just to say how they're well enough made,
they've survived.
There is no wear and tear really.
No,
there is no wear and tear.
There's no wear and tear, Morgan, because it's thick enough to stop a 50 cal.
So there's no wear and tear. It's a really nice jacket, both of them. Because you're out there and it's tailor-made and you get complete choice, I'd recommend at least getting...
For $30, it's not bad.
At least getting a Laria jacket and then a more ordinary jacket. I've used both of these multiple times.
Was it... I can't remember where he went, but it was Gadget Man. It was Richard Ayoade went to tailor in one of his... Oh, no, Travel Man, his travel series. And he went and got a custom suit done with, I can't remember if it was Paul Rudd or someone. And he decided to get a full pink cord suit and somehow pulled it off like insanely well. Just full thing, the tie, the jacket, the trousers, pink corded, looked the bollocks.
I'm guaranteed he got that under $100.
No, the place they went's actually now become famous enough that it's expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There are a couple of expensive places. So we looked at
$250, $300 suits.
We looked at where they went in Top Gear, and that was a lot more expensive than everywhere else. And you do have to shop around a bit, and it's good to sort of find the shops that have the sort of clothing that you're after and are obviously making nice designs. Like this is one of the ones that they actually had something similar up there already.
Yeah.
And I saw it and was like, I knew no will like this, so...
Drop a comment below, because maybe in the future Morgan and I will have to do a really, really silly podcast / a pod vlog episode where we fly to Vietnam with the sole purpose of getting fully tailored.
I don't think you can go to Seoul on the way to Vietnam.
Cheers for that awful humour again, Morgan. With the sole purpose of going to Vietnam to get tailored shirt, suit, and including the flights. How expensive is that relative to just buying a suit in the UK?
Depends whether you're getting an M&S suit or
how cheap
Savile Row.
How cheap do you reckon you could get to Vietnam on flights?
I reckon
if you wait around maybe a few £100.
Yeah, I feel like you can get sub 400 if you're lucky or on Jack's Flight Club.
Yeah.
We should get a referral link for that.
Yeah, 100%. Jack's Flight Club.
Yeah, I reckon you could get under £400, although things may change with COVID and post-COVID.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can travel there now.
No, they're in lockdown.
Oh, that's a shame.
Real shame. So, moving on, we have the Mekong Delta. The far south of Vietnam is where the mighty Mekong River finally finds its way to the sea in a maze of waterways that crisscross the floodplain. Incredibly lush with paddy fields, vistas and mangroves. And full of local life with chaotic floating markets to explore by boat, the Delta is one of the most interesting regions for travellers to discover. Did you go and see any of the floating markets?
I saw a very small one. And it was kind of by accident. With this trip, I had, as I said, it was my first trip. I had very limited control. The only control I had was I asked that we had Wi-Fi, working Wi-Fi at our hostels. That was literally all I
it?
got. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't organised by me. I was planning to go with one of my uni friends, and we went with him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend organised it. One of his girlfriend's friends came out with us for the first 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And on our first day, we met someone he knew and his girlfriend, somehow. Such small world, travelling. Yeah. And we travelled with them for the next month.
I've been wearing this jacket for about 3 minutes, Morgan, and I'm sweating.
You look good, though.
It's so warm.
You look good.
Right, Morgan.
Next one, we've spoken about Hue before, but it's just Hue in general. It is a very historic town, and there's lots of interesting things you can go see there. Hue is packed with relics from the reign of the 19th century Hoian emperors sitting along the banks of the gorgeous Perfume River. The imperial enclosure is a huge site set within walls that sprawl over 2.5 kilometres. One of the nicest ways of visiting the collection of outlying sites is by taking a riverboat cruise along the Perfume River. A day cruise can take you to visit several royal tombs with some pagodas. If you're short on time, though, the best tomb you can visit is Tudok, which is the most important pagoda in the area. Then there's Theon Mu Pagoda with its tower, which soars 21 metres high. It's quite
small
tall.
Tower. If you love to see amazing scenery, spectacular sights, you have to go to Ninh. It's super famous and one of the best nature spots in Vietnam to go and see staggering limestone. The region is still very much unexplored by Western holidaymakers, but its natural beauty is becoming more and more welcome. Which, if you do have the chance to go to Vietnam in the nearer future, hoping that COVID opens up and disappears for good, then I do recommend trying to get that under the belt before it becomes too populated. They start to build up the tourist industry too much on it and ruins the fun and adventurous side of Ninh.
Yeah, it's definitely, when I find places like that, it's definitely somewhere which I always look to put high up on my priorities, because you want to go there before it's not spoiled,
ruined,
over touristy.
Ruined, spoiled, trashed.
If beaching is what you're after, then one of the places you must go to is Natran.
Ooh.
Natran is the most famous seaside resort in Vietnam, with a laid-back atmosphere and exceptional scuba diving. While it's certainly not on the same scale as many of Asia's other beautiful beaches, Nha Trang offers warm water and some picturesque offshore islets. When I went, they also had these inflatable sort of slides and jumpy things in the sea, which were free to go on. So we just went, chilled by the beach, went on that, had a fantastic time climbing up, sliding into the sea. It's so warm, it was so much fun, and it was so hot, and obviously the sun reflects off that, and we're sliding all our sun cream off. So we got very burnt, and after that we were like lobsters, and we were walking around and walked back to our hostel, and everyone was laughing at us, which was quite amusing and disconcerting.
Yeah, you burned badly.
They were just laughing. It wasn't me, and I wasn't even... Well, it was me, but it wasn't just me, and I wasn't the worst. But
you weren't the worst.
No.
There you go, tomato.
I know.
Worse than...
We were all awful. It was hilarious.
Oh, no.
And we go back to the hostel, and the ladies at the hostel went crazy. They were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like,
what, coming back burnt?
Yeah.
Really?
And because we were really, like, it looked bad. We were really bad. We'd only been playing on those things for a few hours, but obviously straight away it's wiped off our sun cream, and now we just look like English tourists always look. And so they told us to sit down, and they went to their lovely fridge, and they got out some aloe vera plant. The actual plant itself, not some silly branded stuff. And they cut it open, and then the aloe vera starts coming out. And then suddenly, for the next half an hour, they got their friends to come in, And for the next half an hour, we had these little Vietnamese ladies rubbing aloe vera over us because they were so desperately trying to heal us.
Oh, my God.
It was a nightmare, but also real aloe vera was quite cool. It's very similar to the normal branded stuff, just cheaper.
Real.
And real. And it did help. And then our woes didn't end there because we then had, whilst this was happening, the sun was out, then it wasn't, and it rained a lot and the whole area flooded. And we
did go in monsoon season, Morgan.
Yeah, we even had rain coming through the light. The light was still working, weirdly, but it was coming through the light in the ceiling. And the whole reception area was suddenly flooded. Whilst we were sitting in it and the lights were still on and working.
So you could have been electrocuted, you flooded, whilst two little ladies rubbing aloe vera on you.
Yes, but
beautiful stuff.
Just before this, one of the guys who wasn't as burnt, or he'd had his aloe vera already done on him, went off to go get a haircut. As the monsoon started, the electricity went out just in that building. Not our building. For some reason, the one that's flooding, the electricity was fine. Electricity went out in that building. All he was trying to do was get like a tool over, and it was halfway done. He'd just sort of gone round the bottom.
No.
The Vietnamese bloke said, "Done. That's it. That's it." And so suddenly his hair was shocking. And he came back and he was like, I honestly don't know what just happened. The electricity went out and I got kicked out and now I'm here. So now he's seriously burnt with a really awful haircut.
Did he shave it off?
Eventually he shaved it off because we went and found a shop that he then bought a razor or shaver and shaved it off.
Oh, that's awful.
It was a nightmare.
Did he have long hair?
It was probably similar to my hair beforehand.
Okay.
And then suddenly went completely bald. And it was quite funny because when he first came out, he didn't have much facial hair. At that point, he had a bit of facial hair.
He just went facial
and
hair.
He swapped.
Oh, and the tan lines from shit. Oh, that's awful.
It was a nightmare.
So we are now on Golden Hands Bridge in Da Nang. It's a 150-metre long pathway high above the gorgeous scenery of the seemingly endless Bana Hills, and feel like they're being held in the sky by two humongous godlike stone hands. As it happens, the stone hands are not held up by God himself, but by sturdy steel frame and fiberglass.
So this is something that wasn't built when I was in Vietnam, but it was maybe a year or two after.
Really?
I was there, and it actually went viral on social media because it's just such an amazing spectacle. You've got this stunning view over Da Nang, and it's these huge golden hands that are just holding up a bridge, and it's really cool. Now we're going to talk about the best activities that you can do in Vietnam. So the first one, and this is a seriously popular one, is Halong Bay. Halong Bay is a beautiful natural wonder of northern Vietnam, but also the world. It is truly stunning. It's very near the Chinese border, and it's dotted with 1,600 limestone sort of islands and islets, and covers an area of over 1,500 square kilometres. This is an extraordinary area that was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994. For many tourists, this place is something right out of a movie. The fact is that Halong Bay features a wide range of biodiversity, whilst the surreal scenery has indeed featured in endless movies. It honestly is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
How busy is it?
So, because it's so big, you don't notice it to be too busy. And we actually went on a tour from a place called Cat Bar Island, which we'll talk about in a bit, because it's much cheaper to do the same tour from one of the islands than it is the mainland. We turned up in Halong City and it was just all scaffolding, hasn't really been built up in 2016. When you go on the tour, they are reasonably busy because you go to the same pristine places. You see these amazing fish, and sorry that I don't actually know what fish they were. We had the cutest little kittens, wild kittens were there. They were just roaming around.
Stray kittens.
Stray kittens. They were so cute. We got to go scuba diving. We did kayaking. One of the big things to do there is rock climbing. You go up the side of the limestone cliff and then you just jump off or fall back.
What?
Yeah, it looked a lot of fun. And then we went to, on the tour you go to Monkey Island. Guess what?
Cat.
There is lots of dogs on it. And we actually climbed
actually
up.
Dogs?
No, lots of monkeys. Lots of monkeys. We climbed up to this really cool peak. We weren't told in the tour that we're doing any hiking, so I had flip-flops on. And to get to the top of it, there was a normal peak, but then this guy Sal and I decided to go up this different peak, which involved rock climbing.
Yeah.
There was a sheer drop of about 20 feet, and we had to climb up in flip-flops. My feet, and the rocks are so sharp that you can't take the shoes off even if you're flip-floppies.
Really?
It wasn't necessarily the smartest of decisions, but it was truly amazing. And I got one of my favorite photos or clips at the top with the selfie stick when we're semi-hanging off near the peak, and I just bring the selfie stick up and we get this awesome photo, and it was a really cool view. And then we got down, we were told, someone shouted from the bottom that our boat was leaving, and so suddenly we climbed down, we had to run. It was a similar situation to Mackenzie.
Where you didn't turn
Mackenzie
off for a
Lake,
year.
where we swam across the lake. Well, I swam across the lake, and we then became late and they were leaving. So we had to kind of run down in flip-flops, but it was one of the most amazing experiences. Really enjoyed doing it.
So, as Morgan mentioned a couple minutes ago, Cat Bar Island, it is actually a best-kept secret. It is hidden within Halong Bay. There are beautiful hikes, and you can do the Halong Bay tours for a lot less money that include Cat Bar Island. Trekking through the pristine rainforest that makes up the vast national park, the Lookout Tower Trail is a popular and fairly easy hike. Walk up for around an hour until you come out a rusted shelter where you can appreciate just how untouched the whole of Cat Bar Island really is.
Cat Bar Island was one of my favourite places I went to.
Of the whole of Vietnam?
Yeah. It was just because we arrived at Halong City expecting all of Halong Bay, and it was really disappointed. So we went straight away and got a ferry to Cat Bar Island. We didn't know until we got there that there was only one cash machine on the whole island.
Okay.
So we're a bit worried about cash, and apparently quite often it's broken or run out with money, which isn't ideal.
No.
But we arrived at the island. It's just beautiful, and it's got this stunning bay with all these nice restaurants and bars, and all the hostels were really full. They've got all the food, and everyone always hires motorbikes and just goes around the island, does all the hikes, which you mentioned earlier, and goes drinking. We drank a lot. We had a really fantastic time, and one of the weirdest experiences I had, not really travel related, but we're in a bar. We came out around 3 a.m. and we come out, and this is a tiny island, and we come out and we see hundreds of people sitting on those little chairs that I was talking about earlier, and there is hundreds of people, and it's like 3 a.m. and we're thinking, what are they doing? We see this massive screen up, and they're watching the Euros.
What?
They're not even in it.
Just watching it, just enjoying the football.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it was majority of the island, because there are not many people there.
Really?
At some point, I think there was around 1,500 people there. I think now it's gone up to maybe 10,000, but I could be completely wrong there.
Yeah.
And some of the things you can drive around and see is some of the hospitals they have that are inside hills, because one of the biggest things that the Vietnamese did to hide from the Americans was that they just hid within the natural geography.
Yeah.
And they just hid in the hills, and you've got these amazing bunker-esque hospitals that you can go visit, and you're driving around and you're like, you if you didn't know they were there, you'd have no idea. it was no wonder it was really tough to find them. But it was one of my favourite places, and saw cats, which were nice. Not that they were just
Massive
really
cat fan.
No, they were just really cute, and I had doner kebabs or their version of kebabs.
Were they nice?
They were really nice, and they were about 40p, which compared to £5 or whatever you pay in the UK. Fongnar National Park is a best kept secret on its own. It's in the Quang Binh province, which is a wild region of barely penetrable jungle in Vietnam's sort of skinny middle, and it's close to the border with Laos. This area is riddled with hundreds of deep caves, including one of the largest in the world. One of them. They just have lots of big caves in Vietnam. Said it one or two times. Hang Song Dong. More dongs.
All right, carry on.
So what is? I'm not sure what Hang Song means, but is that just something money almost?
Sounds it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it contains a cavern that's so tall that you could actually fit a skyscraper inside. The small town of Fongnar, and it is very small, is the epicenter for the area's caving adventures, which, when I say small, it is like a 200-meter long road with the odd building every once in a while, only on one side.
Tiny village, not barely a village.
Barely a village, and there was one hostel at the time that I went.
Yeah.
There was one or two hotels, but they did have a club, which basically everyone's drinking in the hostels. You're having pre-drinks, and then and then they're like, right, we're going to the club. It's like, oh, where are we all going? There's only one place, so everyone's going there. It's about 150 yards down the road, so they're like, right, we're getting on mopeds, and right, okay, fine. Everyone's been drinking, so we're not driving them.
Yeah.
Because there's not many people. The people who run the bar were there outside with the mopeds because there's no one else there. Like, the only people who are going are the people from the hostel.
Yeah.
So they come and sort of pick you up. Well, some of them are people who are running it, and some of them were 12, 13-year-old kids who were driving you on mopeds.
Who drove you?
This really, really young, probably 11-year-old boy. It was
sounds safe.
Really strange, and yeah, slightly worrying. And you've had a few drinks, and then you turn up, and they literally drive you straight for about 30 seconds, and then you're there.
And then you're done.
And you
Couldn't
get
have just walked.
Probably, but it's not as interesting a story. No, and you get there and you turn up and like it was just a plain empty concrete building on the out. Like, there was nothing there, literally nothing there. It was a plain empty looking warehouse almost building, but not that big, like very small. And we're like, okay, this is really worrying. We're
getting murdered.
Yeah, we're slightly far away, not that far, but slightly far away from the hostel. We were one of the first of the people from the hostel because they just taxied them. They kept going backwards and forth. So they left us there and they left us outside. And because they have the keys and are letting us in, we're like, is this the right place? There's no music. There's no people here. Because it's still shut because they're ferrying us all along. They eventually get everyone there. Then they unlock the door and you go inside, and it reminds me a bit like Flares.
In Newcastle?
In Newcastle, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like old disco-y floor.
Slightly sticky.
Slightly sticky. And weirdly enough, I actually met someone from Newcastle Uni there. And we're
sure it wasn't just Flares?
No, yeah, it's very, very much possibility because I asked the DJ for Country Roads to come on. And he was like, you can't be serious.
How many people were in this place?
20 maybe by the end, because it was everyone from the hostel.
Just the people from the hostel?
Yeah, there was no one else there to go.
And there was a DJ?
Yeah, the DJ was one of the taxi drivers, the moped drivers. And it was one of the weirdest
be so bizarre.
experiences. And also,
Sounds like school disco.
and also we were told to get on the moped, and I assumed that we were going to have to pay for the moped, but we didn't, because they're just trying to get us so we pay for drinks when we get there.
Seems logical.
So that was a really cool and weird, strange experience that's a bit off the beaten track. The Eponymous Cave is a UNESCO-listed wonder, well worth exploring. And here you can hire both guides and gears to go into the caves. And if going underground isn't interesting enough for you, you can also go and do a lot of trekking. And the surrounding jungle is peppered with stunning waterfalls and an active and noisy population of monkeys. And not animal-related, flying foxes. Do you know what a flying fox is?
Yeah, it's like a little squirrel. Chipmunky squirrel.
A flying fox is a sort of zip-wiry thing that you hold on to.
Oh, you mean flying fox as in that?
Yeah.
Not as in like...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
where your carabiners on the back of you.
Well, no, you just hold on to bars and it takes a zip line and then you let go. And you fly. Into water.
Okay, very different flying fox to what I've done before.
Okay, yeah, no, we weren't attached to anything. And it had their aerial sort of assault course things, and you just fall into the lake, the flying fox. It was kind of like Total Wipeout. It was really
And how
awesome.
busy was that?
I mean, majority
quite touristy,
majority of the people from the hostel go, but by quite a touristy, there's not many people there, so it wasn't really. And then the other thing you do is you go in the caves, you do caving. There were some sort of mud pools in the cave.
What?
Which was really cool, which we swam in, like, got really muddy. And it's a bit like the Red Sea in that you could just float on top of it. It was so much fun. And then,
It's mud.
Yeah, our guide was really funny and sort of told us to turn the lights off and just wait for the next group. So we're pitch black in the cave and we waited till the next group was, and we scared the living out of them. It was such an amazing experience. And we went on another guided trip where we went via motorbikes and saw all the waterfalls and went hiking. And it's a bit off the beaten path, but it is 100% worth going to.
Sounds pretty cool. Tracing the border of China is Sapa, a captivating, very remote town. At 1,500 metres above sea level is nothing to scoff at when you're trekking the terraced hills and slope around this high-altitude mountain town. While there's plenty of natural beauty to tempt you to the far east corner of the country, much of Sapa's appeal lies in its raw and authentic culture. The most popular hiking routes are found in and around Sapa. Days are spent trekking through rice paddies, rural villages untouched by tourism. Vietnam and Indochina's tallest peak, Phan Xipien, reach 3,144 metres above sea level and takes 3 days to climb to the summit.
Well, I'm sure you could probably do it quicker.
Yeah.
But Sapa was definitely not somewhere where I was able to go to, but it was a really popular place
Why
for lots of
couldn't you go?
backpackers. Didn't have enough time. And I didn't have control of this trip, remember?
Very true.
But it was a very popular trip and we met so many people who did it and they really enjoyed it.
I am getting very sweaty in this jacket.
So you're loving it? I'm really enjoying wearing the jacket. I always enjoy wearing these jackets.
So thick.
But we're in England, which is quite often quite cool.
I can wear this up every wrist and I'll be pretty confident I'll be fine. Right, so
Maybe
we're
that could be a
moving
good
on.
episode.
We're moving on to a breakdown of the best experiences you can have whilst out in Vietnam. And we are starting off with Dalat.
With Dalat. And Dalat is a charming mountainous town which is slightly off the beaten track, but very exciting to go to. It's a fresh spring climate and it's quickly becoming a very popular destination. The town is enveloped by a network of lakes, rivers and waterfalls. Together, these set the scene for canyoning and a daring combination of hiking, scrambling, swimming, climbing and abseiling. Dalat's canyoning tours adhere to international safety standards, which, for a lot of things you do in Vietnam, you feel like they don't.
Really?
And definitely the bus journey up there didn't. Because, very thin roads. But in Dalat, these tours, they do. And you can feel very secure when you're climbing down the gushing waterfalls and plunging into the natural rock pools. So you can do these amazing, and the latter is actually where I had the 33p, the 10,000 dong beer.
Really?
Yeah. And it was we stayed at this lovely homestay where they had the bar, but no one ran it. So you go take your beers, and then you go on the whiteboard and you
just score
how many you've had. Yeah. Which
so it's
was
an
also
honesty
really,
tab.
it was an honesty tab, and everyone was very honest there because the people who owned it was so lovely. But these canyoning,
And for you guys, it cost tuppence.
yeah, exactly. But these canyoning tours were amazing because you do all these things. You abseil down waterfalls, you cliff jump into natural rock pools, you just slide down rapids. You're doing a bit of caving. It was a really unexpected day, and it was a really fun day.
Sounds
really
cool.
enjoyed it and would 100% recommend it. And it's a really cute, pretty, nice town to go to as well.
Next up, we have the Barbie National Park. It is an absolutely stunning national park with 3 interlinked Barbie lakes at its heart, surrounded by jagged karst peaks and thickly forested slopes. Most visitors come here to take peaceful boat trips or kayak on the lake and explore the caves full of stalactites and stalagmites in the vicinity. But for the more active, there's also excellent hiking and trekking in the hills here between ethnic minority villages. This is one of the most peaceful spots in the whole of Vietnam, and travellers who spend the night here sleep in traditional stilt hut homestays accommodation along the lake shore, allowing an experience and glimpse into remote rural life.
How exciting. You really didn't want to say the word there, did you? No, they're never going to hear the word. Fantastic. So the Coochie Tunnels is a nice bit of history that you can experience. The resolute spirit of the Vietnamese was made famous after the Vietnamese War. The resolute spirit of the Vietnamese was made famous after the Vietnam War, and one place that symbolises this is the Coochie Tunnels. During the war, which took place between 1955 and 1975, the tunnel network became legendary, as it was used by the Viet Cong to great effect during the war. The tunnels once covered a rural area of up to 40 kilometres and was used for constructed living areas, storage, weapon factories, field hospitals. So a field hospital is what I went to see in Cat Bar Island.
Yeah.
Command centres, and included a number of trapdoors. These trapdoors helped the Viet Cong mount surprise attacks on the US forces and disappear into hidden trapdoors without being seen. Now the Coochie Tunnels can be explored by holidaymakers without the traps, or active traps at least, and tours go into detail about how the Viet Cong guerrillas used the tunnels during combat and how they were vital during the war.
And you didn't go and see these?
No, unfortunately we didn't have time, nor did I have control.
No.
But
What a
I
shame.
would have liked to have seen them.
I think quite a few of the guys we know who've travelled to Vietnam went and saw them. I seem to remember some of the photos.
Yeah, I remember being told by a few people who went that as the Vietnamese people are very small, these tunnels are very small.
Very, very small.
And very hard for taller people to get into.
Ho Thu Tien is a theme park that opened in 2004 and very sadly had a very short life. And now it's an abandoned theme park roughly 8 kilometres outside of the touristy zone in Hue. Sadly, it closed 2 years after opening in 2004, but absolutely everything remained in its place almost exactly how it was when it first opened. All the rides are still there, and there's a massive dragon that you can walk up into its mouth and view the surrounding forest of the amusement park.
So this is a really cool area that I have seen.
You've seen it? Online?
Online. Yeah.
YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Urban Explorers.
Didn't know about it, and I wasn't that into urban exploring, but it
Okay.
isn't really at the time, but it isn't really urban exploring as such. It's a fairly popular thing to do now. And there actually is a person at the door whose theory is security, but he smiles you past. I think you pay a small fee to get in, and you just walk in. Lots of the locals go there to have picnics. So it's a really pretty place to explore.
It sounds creepy.
Creepy pretty, but it's dragons, which is awesome.
Yeah. Has anyone worked out why it makes the rain yet? We did ask a while ago in the video, so
Yeah, tell us
Find
at
out
this point. Yeah.
yeah. Thanks.
So our next place is Muine, which these are red sand dunes, which are incredibly unique and something you probably didn't expect to find in Vietnam. You're able to visit them in the beautiful Muine. There are also other normal-looking sand dunes nearby where you can hire dune buggies or go sandboarding down the dunes.
If you want to go to Vietnam's most popular islands, go snorkeling and scuba diving, you need to go to Phu Quoc. It is a well-preserved coral reef, colourful underwater life. You can hike through a sandy trail through the forest in Phu Quoc National Park. There are a few walking trails in the south of Bai Thom that allow you to discover the wilderness of Phu Quoc.
Ooh, you like scuba diving, don't you?
I do really like scuba diving, but Morgan, last but not least, on our list of best experiences in Vietnam, we have mentioned Top Gear a couple of times.
And this is, as Jeremy Clarkson described, a deserted ribbon of perfection. It is the Hai Van Pass, and it's hard not to agree, as the ride through Hai Van Pass is simply a must, which we did on a bus. You can actually do motorbike tours, where you can either hire a motorbike, which lots of people do, or you can go on a tour where there's a guide who takes you on the motorbike and you do it. And this is one of the most quintessential roads in Vietnam, weaving through breathtaking mountains overlooking a stunning coastline. And it's located half an hour out of Da Nang, which we talked about earlier, and an hour and a quarter from Hoi An, which we also talked about earlier. And we think that driving or riding the 21 kilometres of the Hai Van Pass is a best kept secret and is essential for whether you're going anywhere near Da Nang or Hoi An. It's definitely something you should do.
I agree with that.
So, Will, out of everything that we've discussed so far, before we go on to itineraries, what do you think your favourite activity, bar replicating the jacket you're wearing, favourite thing you'd like to do in Vietnam?
I'm genuinely intrigued by the food culture there.
Yeah.
Because you started off by saying it's bland.
They were just not spicy.
Yeah. And then we go into the detail about how it's in the Oxford Dictionary about the street food.
It is my favourite.
It's got 16% of the world's spices.
It is my favourite food that I've had abroad.
So, yeah, I think for me I'd want to basically do a food tour of Vietnam. How about yourself? Of everything that you've done in Vietnam and everything you now know you haven't done, what's the thing you really miss? The one thing you wish you had done? You could just pick one.
So if it's wish I had done, that's out the stuff that I haven't done.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think it's go to the creepy theme park.
Really?
I would really like to do that. A close second would be the Golden Hand Bridge, but the theme park, for me, I'm just really intrigued about abandoned places, and I've seen pictures, and one of my brother's friends actually went there, and I saw their pictures, and I was just so jealous. So I'd really like to go there. Bar the food, what is a location that you'd like to go to?
To be honest,
or which location can you remember the names of?
I don't know. I do like, where there's good snorkeling and scuba diving, there's also good fishing. And I bet they do a lot of hand line fishing out there, which is one of my favourite things. So, yeah, I'd go to one of the islands probably.
So in Halong Bay?
Yeah, Halong Bay or Phu Quoc.
Fair enough.
Because Phu Quoc is apparently the best scuba diving and snorkeling.
No, it is.
So, Morgan, obviously Vietnam is not somewhere I'd ever go for 3 days. So I'm not even going to ask you a short-term itinerary. We're going to say you are there for 10 days.
Ooh.
Giving you a 10-day itinerary, and you have to tell me your plans in a minute. Go.
In a minute. So 10 days means that you can't do
10 days, and that's 10 days including the flight, right? So we're going to take out
2 days.
Day and a half. This is your 10-day holiday break. Leaving tomorrow morning, go.
8 days, basically. So you can't do Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi because that's too much distance.
And assuming what? You'd fly into Hanoi?
We flew into Ho Chi Minh City.
Okay.
I would fly to Hanoi if I only had a week, and no, I wouldn't. I'd fly to Da Nang,
Yeah.
and then I would go up, and I'd go to Fongnar, spend some time there. I would do the canyoning, the flying fox, the caves, a couple of treks, and then I would move. Then you move up to Hanoi, spend barely a day there. It's a city. They have the one and only Domino's in Vietnam is in Hanoi.
Okay, yeah.
And then you get a 4-hour bus out to Halong Bay. Definitely spend some time there. And I go to Cat Bar Island, and I'd do all the activities there, maybe do some island hopping. And then I'd come back to the mainland, go to Sapa, and then back Sapa, do Phan Xipien. Can't do Phan Xipien, won't have time. Do treks around Sapa, see the rice fields, and then get the bus back to Hanoi and fly home.
It's pretty detailed. I'll give that to you. Not that I can remember. Well, not that I know on a physical map where half these things are.
Well, that was part of the issue. Is I struggled to remember where some of the places were, but I just remembered where
a dense area, because that's one of the things.
Yeah.
If you've only got, a week in a country, your main sort of thing is making sure you're flying in and out of a good location where you can minimize internal travel.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
Yes, you want to,
and you just travel with one bag only.
One bag only.
Then you minimize your time in the airports, maximize your holiday time in Vietnam.
We need this jingle. I think season 2 we need a one bag only jingle. It's needed.
Morgan, last but not least, you know Vietnam a lot better than I do. Who is your top influencer creator who's inspired some of your Vietnamese travel?
Well, I wouldn't say they're an influencer, probably just a creator. Is a small channel called The Savalem. Did some really good content on Vietnam.
Really?
Yeah. Great videos.
Are you going to link them below?
Yeah, I could link them in the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably genuinely one of my favourite travel videos, and my first real travel video
that you ever watched.
That I ever watched on Vietnam that inspired me.
Did not film, create, produce,
travel. No.
ghostwrite, everything.
Not at all. Didn't do any of that.
Upload, publish, none of that.
I think there is lots of information out there and lots of content on Vietnam because it is a very popular sort of early gap year backpacking spot that lots of people do when they're younger.
I think the majority of influencer creators I know more focused when they're in that part of Asia. They're all Indonesia, to be honest. A couple of Thailand. I couldn't name off the top of my head any of the people I really properly follow who have done Vietnam.
Yeah, me neither.
So I can finally take off this sweaty blazer that Morgan's forced me to put on.
You chose this line.
I really did. So I know Morgan's really enjoyed this episode because it is one of his favourite countries that he has ever travelled to. And I know it's quite a long episode that we've covered so far. Well, we're coming to the end of. But we hope that you've enjoyed it and that you learned something and have learned something new.
And it is one of my favourite. Would you want to go to Vietnam?
I've always wanted to go to Vietnam. It's pretty high up there.
Now even more so? Now you know more about it?
I'm just intrigued to see how little you could spend of being there for like a month and actually do stuff. That's what I'm really intrigued by.
That would be a really exciting challenge to actually go out and film.
Maybe we will one day.
Ooh.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, see how much holiday I can get.
And Morgan, last but not least, how can our viewers and listeners support us?
So the best way you can support us is actually by following us on Best Kept Secrets Travel on YouTube and all podcast platforms. And Will show his hands here that he's giving, and also the BKStravel on Instagram. And the best way for you to help us grow is...
Okay, go below my finger if you're watching on YouTube now. Click subscribe. Click that notification bell. Click the curved arrow, which lets you copy the link. Send that to your family and friends.
It's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea.
You know what? If you do that, if once this video is published, if within the first week, if we gain 100 more podcast downloads and 50 more YouTube subscribers, I'll plant 10 more trees. How about that?
You know what? I think you should go 15.
15 trees.
Yeah.
15 trees. If in 7 weeks after the date of this release, we gain, how many did I say YouTube subscribers?
You said 50 YouTube subscribers and 100 podcast downloads.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. That's a good target.
Go for it. Share it to your family and friends, and you could help plant some trees.
And if you have any places that you think we missed or any of your favourite places in Vietnam, please tell us. Comment below on Instagram or on YouTube. If you're on podcast, I recommend you come over to our Instagram and comment there. Tell us what you enjoyed most or what you think we missed out, or if you think one of us... Actually, you know what? Comment below who was better at the language. Because I'd be quite intrigued. I was really disappointed to hear that I wasn't so good at Ukrainian language.
And if you're listening on a podcast, go and click on this video on YouTube and comment below who's pulling off their jacket.
Oh, yeah,
better.
Please do.
Because I think, I'm pulling off Diarrhea Sleeves jacket over here pretty well.
Don't call it that, otherwise I will just wear it to everything we ever go to.
And I'll burn it.
You'll burn me.
Burn this.
But I'll be wearing it.
Even better. Right.
On that note, I think we
I can take this off.
And no.
Yep.
Keep it on.
Roll the outro.
No. Roll the outro.
No.
Roll the outro.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I hope that you can handle going on adventures, best kept secret travels. Yeah, all over the globe, having fun, you know the deal. Amazing secret locations, hang out with Morgan and Will. Educate and entertain, haggle in the market, sharing their experiences. Time to get it started. Let's go.